everyone! Today we have reached a milestone that all Winx tubers must. We are doing an outfit ranking. Yes, I have sold out, but I'm mainly doing this as an excuse to talk about merch and the comics, so we're still on brand here. But because Winx is an absolute unit of fashion, I did have to narrow it down a little, so here is my criteria. To qualify for this video, outfits must be from up to season 4 adjacent, has to be an all 6 outfit set or all 5 if from season 1, so no individual one-offs, and also no outfits hard to pin down into a singular set. Must be repeating and memorable in the case of the comics, otherwise we'd be here all day. Civilian looks only. No ball gowns, no pajamas, no bikinis, no fairy forms, no location or situation specific looks with a couple of exceptions, and no skating because I'm too lazy to hunt down the alternative skating outfits, so that's all you get. Basically, I just wanted ones I had takes on. Let's just pretend that this is a top 24 and maybe we can do a separate video for all the other things I mentioned. My qualifications for talking about fashion are right here, let's take a look. Oh, it's empty. Oh well, I do have a degree in Winxology, so I guess that's what we'll be relying on today. I have a feeling I'm going to be kind of a hater for some beloved Winx looks because my opinions are so biased by merch rather than real fashion sense, of which I am sadly deprived. So don't be too mad at me, okay? You've been warned. Here are the tiers, pretty straightforward. Let's go. Let's start with the civilian season 1 looks. And to be honest, there is not much to say about these. They are cute, they are recognizable, they are Winx. No notes really. I guess the one thing that other people might bring up is Muse's underwear situation, but even as a child it never really made an impression on me. I don't really mind it. So straight into so good. I've also decided that I'm going to pick a favorite look in every set, and I think my favorite here is definitely Bloom. I love season 1 Bloom and I love this outfit for her, and I much prefer to basically all of her main civilian looks from later seasons. Next up we have the party looks, but they are casual enough that they pass the criteria, especially as they have been used in a few different contexts. For some reason, Stella's outfit is the most likely to come up on merch or posters and stuff, and for that reason it is the most nostalgic, but it's not a good look. I'm also a hater for Muse's arm warmers, Bloom's leg warmers over an otherwise breezy hot weather outfit, and also for the weird shawl thing around Flora's waist. And basically in every outfit there is something that bothers me and I have no attachment to any of them. I guess if I had to pick, I'll pick Bloom's look again because it's such a uniquely season 1 look. But all in all, whilst I don't think this set is completely horrendous, it's a no from me. Next we have the season 2 back to school outfits. Already this set is losing points for not having visual coherence, no theme, no uniting elements. I am not a hater of pink on Stella, but I do think it has to be a darker, deeper pink, or like a pink accent over a cherry or something. This for me just looks incomplete, like those looks on the Winx Power Show DVDs where someone did them on Microsoft Paint probably, although I will say it looks better in the stock art. Bloom's outfit I'm also not a fan of. I don't like the yellow. I don't even like the pink version of this outfit. Although I do think it has a place in the story with Bloom starting to dress more feminine, or trying at least. I do think this is an interesting look from Tekna. I feel like it's a little too sexy for so early in the show. I feel like Tekna also goes through a transformation across the show from favouring more practical things to adding more fashionable elements to her looks, but I feel like we don't often see Tekna in something like this. I guess this is a special occasion though, so they're all trying something different. Flora's outfit though ascends past the others. This is one of my favourite Flora looks ever. It's an unusual colour combination for her. The pattern feels very 2000s. On its own I would consider putting it in God tier, I just like it so much. But no, it barely pulls the rest out of horrendous. By the way, if I'm sometimes not commenting on Musa, it's just because it feels weird to, like rank outfits with cultural elements. Next, we have an interesting one. So this is the trendy winter collection and you may not recognize it. This was a collection from Giochi Preziosi, although some of these outfits did also make it to Mattel. Bloom and Stella's outfits were part of the shopping release. Oddly enough, Flora's look in the shopping set is the back to school look. You may also recognize Stella's outfit as the season 2 Gardenia look, and Bloom's Argyle sweater is what Thursas also wore on Winx on Tour, Layla is in her default Season 2 look, and Flora's look was featured on the Quest for the Codex DS game. All of these looks were also frequently in the comics, by the way. So there were several different trendy releases under Giochi, so you do see a bit of mix and match on merch. But as far as this set, I do like them, especially Flora's look. It's actually weird to me that this outfit is not on the show because it's one of the first outfits I think of for Flora. I'm also attached to this Bloom look, but that's just because of Winx on tour. Overall, this is fine, just fine. Next, we have the camping looks from Season 2, and yes, these are situation specific, but one or two of them featured frequently on merch, so I decided to include them. This set is teetering between meh and just fine. I don't have any attachment to them. The most interesting thing I can think of in relation to these is that on merch, the colors of Bloom's outfit were different, and I think I like it better in green. I am not a fan of Flora's look. Everyone else's looks seem to go together, but Flora's is just weird and I don't like these colors on her. As for my favorite, if green, it's Bloom, but in the show, I like Layla's look with the zip up. I think it's cute that Piff sleeps in her hood. In general, in the Winx Club, if I was picking what I would wear, I would almost always pick Layla's looks. Next up, we have another fun one, and if you've never read the magazines, you may never have seen these. Although you may know them from Christmas Party from Scholastic, and also they do have dolls. There is actually, I fairly recently found out, a Layla look that goes with these that is not this one, which is why I've included this set in Season 2. You can see the Layla look in the Modea Magia sticker book, but I couldn't find any stock art of it. All of these looks had hat variants, and Bloom's look could have a slight color variance. I really love the colors for Flora's look. Purple is underused for Flora, though in general these darker colors with green look so good on her. But my favorite, I think, is Stella's look. When we think of pink on Stella, this is what I'm talking about. Shades and layers, not this 2D Microsoft Paint job. Also, when I was thinking of where else I've seen Tekna's look, there is this issue of the comics which has some interesting outfit combinations. I have to put this set in God tier. Obviously, it goes without saying that none of these outfits, maybe Tekna and Musa's, look particularly resistant to the cold, but they are iconic, they are so Winx, and so underrated. God tier. Next is another merch exclusive set. Actually, I think it's comic exclusive. It's hard to take them all in at once, which is a flaw of the set, but individually I think they are all rather interesting. I'm happy to see Flora in blues and greens. It's doing something similar to her back to school look, although not as nicely. It's just not as balanced. Musa's look is almost exactly her umbrella look, right? That's a bit weird. Actually, in this earlier issue, she wears her Season 2 party look instead, so I wonder if this was developed later for some reason, or these looks went on to be the umbrella looks or something. I don't know. I think Aisha's looks the most comfy. I think color and silhouette-wise, Tekna and Musa's looks are a little too similar, and I guess so are Layla and Bloom's kind of. For me, Stella's is the best, as busy as it is. I remember this one especially from the issue where we meet Stella's mother and her new boyfriend. I think this will have to go into just fine though, because there is so much going on when they're all together. Next, we are cheating by putting in party looks, but I really want to talk about these. They have such a weird legacy on merch. So basically, all of these outfits have made it onto dolls. Stella's look made it onto Giochi in a Doppio Abito set, next to these Bloom and Flora looks. And then Layla's, Tekna's and Musa's make it onto the Dancing Party collection from Giochi. And then Flora and Aisha make it onto Mattel dolls in the Sensational collection, except Aisha's dress is on blue. You may also recognize Musa's Sensational dress as her Gardenia disco look. There's a lot going on here, but in short, I do think that they are good looks. Bloom's is plain, but I like it as her early seasons girl next door kind of vibe. I do also like the Nick color though, I think it's an improvement actually. My favorite I would have thought would be Flora because I love her in these colors, but actually I think it's going to be Musa. I know I just said I don't really want to rank cultural looks, but I love this, I love head to toe red. Overall, these are just fine, they're not doing anything too special. And we are progressing on to Season 3 with the day looks. And these are just iconic on sheer recognizability and branding. They are going straight into God tier, even though individually they're not all that special to me, but altogether they are Winx, they are the mothership. I guess my favorite is Flora's look, so flowery and feminine. Also, interestingly, there's an early version of Muse's look with different colours on the pattern, but the stock art is really hard to track down. Next, we are going to do the dance looks. I had so much merch with these looks on it, I still use this agenda. Interestingly, even though in the show they are used for ballet class, they are each of them meant to correspond to a different dance style according to my diary. Stella is ballet, Tecna is modern, Layla is hip-hop, Bloom is disco, Flora is Latin dance, and Musa is meant to be jazz. Make of that what you will. Speaking of the show, Tecna's and Flora's looks are actually quite different on the show than in the official art. These are much more color-coded, which makes sense. I actually prefer Tecna's look in the show and Flora's look on merch. I think that would be my favorite, whilst Aisha's is my favorite on the episode. These go into so good for me. We did actually get these looks live action on the Balla con le Winx DVD, featuring the Winx on Tour Italian cast. And excitingly, Lila teaches us a routine to my favorite song from the Secret of the Lost Kingdom album. So this song was not in the film, but was on the album, and there is an unlisted interview with Elisa Rosselli where she says that she wrote this song without it being asked of her with Aisha in mind, and Straffi liked it so much he included it on the album. Also, I know I keep changing what I call her, because Aisha isn't even Layla to me, she's Lila in my dub. Let's move on to another comic exclusive set, and I keep double checking that because they are so Winx Club to me. I think because my favorite comics to reread are all around the 50s, and these outfits feature prominently on that run. Let's start with what I don't like, and I don't like Layla and Flora's looks. Yellow is kind of rare to see on Flora, and I feel like this dress makes a very good case why. Stella looks very Stella, kind of no notes there. I think Tecna is in a really interesting situation. Earlier I said that Tecna goes for more practical things, but this looks kind of comfy and femme by Tecna standards. The issue I most associate with this outfit is Black Comet, and that kind of makes sense because that's an issue where we see a little bit of feminine vulnerability in Tecna. But my favorite though has to be Musa's look. I've always admired this top since childhood. Interesting color combination, interesting cut. Overall though, they are going into just fine, because half of them are hideous. Next up we have Umbrella, or the Rain looks from season 3. So here's the thing, this is one of those rare occasions from the first 3 seasons at least, where the show looks are more pink than the merch looks. Merch in general used more pink for all the girls, as might be expected, but in the case of Umbrella, the final looks that made it onto merch are much more distinctly color-coded, from that same era as the dance looks. And I think this is happening because at this point, the Winx Club was starting to reach its height. Whereas before, they were still having to market Winx as a whole, now they have so much more brand recognizability that they are marketing the girls individually. And at that point, it makes sense to really differentiate the girls and their merch. I know I sound a little crazy to Anglophone audiences who only know Winx as a show, but this was close to the height of Winx, the brand. Like, in parts of Europe you could not move for Winx. My hands and knees were always bloody and bruised as a child because I kept tripping over Winx merch. And that's also why season 3 and 4 have such weird one-episode fashions where all of them are dressed the same, because it was starting to become more about the show supporting the brand, the merch, rather than, merch of the show. But anyway, back to the outfits. I have to say, I do not like them in the show. I think the blue version on Bloom is so much better. I just made a short defending pink Bloom, however I am willing to admit when blue is superior on her, and this is one of those moments. Now Flora on the other hand, firstly I think her look is the most memorable, so I thought it was going to be my favorite, but actually no, it's just too much of its time. Like, I swear there's a girl dressed exactly like this in the opening sequence of The Devil Wears Prada. However, I will say it is so much better in the show with the purple breaking up the pink. When it comes to Aisha, Musa and Tecna, I think they also look better in the show with the lighter, softer shades, but all of them together, it's just too much pink. I think Stella wins here, 1 because of her distinct colour, but 2 because I think it's really novel that she is wearing a knitted beanie. It's so funny to me, you'd think Stella would have wanted to wear the old baker boy like the other 8 girls of the 2000s, but no, she's wearing a woolen cap, which I thought was so hideous as a child. Overall though, these are just fine. Their presence kind of felt forced on the show, and I can't really think of any standout merch with these on. Let's move on to disco. Look, admittedly, I don't know much about the 2007 club scene. As much as I tried, they would never let me in for some reason. But was this really what people wore to go clubbing? They all look like they are dressed for different occasions. Like I can see Stella and I can see Flora's situation at a party if it was like super sparkly or with sequins. I understand what Tekna is doing, but I hate it. Musa looks like she's dressed in winter fashions. I mean, not real winter fashions, Winx winter fashions. I guess I just don't get these. However, I will say these looks translated great onto dolls. I didn't see the vision, but now I do. I think both Flora and Bloom's tights look like leggings in animation, but they look so much nicer as coloured sparkly tights. Bloom's outfit is so elevated by the dark indigo, and I like the colour change on Stella. I love the screening and makeup on these dolls. Interestingly, no Tekna in this set. We'll have a chat about that in a minute. These dolls could make it all the way up to God tier, but the show looks are kind of horrendous, so I don't know, shall we put it in there? Next up, denim. This set is so nostalgic. I think because of bags. There was a whole denim school collection, and I just remember going into year 2 or 3 and seeing the sea of Winx bags, all denim, iconic. Automatically these go into God tier. That being said, I have this thing where when I look at something, I can kind of feel how it would feel on me, and if something looks uncomfortable, it becomes ugly to me. And I hate denim. I hate the feel of denim, so when I look at these as 2D art, I think they are beautiful, iconic, nostalgic, but when I look at them as clothes, I'm telling you I feel itchy, I feel sick, I feel suffocated, I'm not even joking. 0 out of 10, would not wear. Like with Flora, I just can't get past how that would feel on me. Like, just imagine the jean material rubbing into the skin under your bra line all day. Absolutely not, even though it is iconic. I love the ponytail on Musa and Layla, and Layla eats this up. This is her look. Bloom is the second best, and I have proof that this is not a dress. This is a dress and a short jacket. Look. Also, there is a second Bloom outfit that goes with this set, and this is one of the best Winx looks ever. Between this and Aisha, this would win. But I guess it's not the main look, so Aisha defends her title. Also worth noting that both Giochi and Mattel made these into dolls, and both lines are hideous. And interestingly again, no Tekna in Mattel. I guess she wasn't selling, so she wasn't getting made. And you know those rumors that Roxy was originally going to replace Tekna because she has a similar color scheme and kind of similar personality, at least in terms of broad strokes? They're both kind of contrary. Has anyone confirmed this with Struffy? I don't know if they would admit to it now, even if it was true at some point. It's just interesting, and if you kind of understand Winx primarily as a brand, I guess it does feel like something they might do, just to replace a character with one that looks like her but with broader appeal, so they're moving on product. No Tekna hate at all, to be clear, I'm just speculating on the business side of things. Speaking of denim, I do want to take a quick look at these. These are from comic issue, whatever, this one. And they don't actually qualify because they're not repeating, and also they're horrendous, but I think they're interesting because we have all these lines from this time based on a single theme, a fabric, and I wonder if these indicate that there was also a line planned around plaid. So often they tested the prototypes out in comics first, so I think it's not completely unlikely. Speaking of plaid, Winx in concert. Interestingly, these were not the only concert outfits from this time. In fact, Mattel did another concert release that kind of had nothing to do with these. I don't think I've ever seen stock art of these, so I don't know what their deal is. Maybe someone can tell us. As far as the official Winx in concert outfits, they are iconically Winx, being on so much, but they are also so much of their time that I feel like they're not quite able to transcend, you know? Again, Aisha is my fave, based on comfort. Altogether they are Winx Club, but individually, they're whatever. No particular attachment. Just fine. I will say though, the witty dolls for these, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, and even the boxes was so iconic. Moving on to season 4, we have the City Girl looks. These are kind of a downgrade from previous main civilian looks, aren't they? I will say they look more mature, which makes sense. With Tekna, you can see what I was talking about, that transition from practical and edgy to more, you know, accessories and patterns. Overall, they're just kind of boring. I kind of like Flora's look, but the best is between Musa and Aisha, and I think it's going to be Aisha for me because comfy beats edgy. But I absolutely defend Musa's look. I feel like sometimes people say that it's out of character. I disagree. I feel like the transition makes sense to me. The one interesting thing about these was that there was a merch line for them under the name Tattoo, which is not the first thing that would come to mind with these very safe, family-friendly looks. but the line just had this tattoo art thing going on. But yeah, these are overall just going in meh. Next, we have a superior set, the Magical Summer line. God tier, need I say more? They also do translate well onto the show. Interestingly, in these images, you can kind of see the difference between the fashion silhouettes on the right and the typical silhouettes on the left. It's subtle, but they are kind of more elongated. And obviously this would eventually evolve into the fairy couture art style, which was initially a merch exclusive thing and was eventually used for World of Winx. For your information, there is actually a Roxy look that goes with these. Kiwi Roxy can be seen in the comics, and we do know that she was originally supposed to be in the doll line because there are prototypes out there. I just love these, one of my favorite bloom looks ever, but actually I think I'm going to pick Stella as the best. So fun fact, these looks were originally going to be based on flowers, not fruits, and the prototypes still got use in the magazines. I really like Aisha's look here. Okay, I'm slowly running out of steam, but we are close to the end now, hold on. The travel outfits from season 4. You may not even remember them because I think they were only in one episode for like a couple of minutes, but they are heavily featured in the comics, appearing as early as Enchantics era. There's not much to say about these, they're not doing anything all that special for me. I will say this is one of those instances where the stock art is less nice than what we actually get. So often stock art is so much nicer than the show or the comics with Winx, but here I like the simplifications of the comic versions. It's less busy and easier on the eyes. I think Muse's look is the best, but otherwise this is a whatever from me. Let's move on to Season 4 Cowboy, and it is Season 4 Cowboy because Winx have had cowboy outfits before, though you may only recognize Stella's. This is another set where visually I really like the outfits. Little horse girl me was super happy to see a horsey cowgirl face with a Winx Club. However, it kind of has the same problem as denim where I just can't help but think of how it would feel on me, and it kind of has me all itchy and bothered. They translate pretty poorly onto dolls as well. Also, can we talk about how lazy Layla and Tekna's looks feel compared to the other girls? On the other hand, Musa and Flora eat this look, though Flora marginally more. Overall, this is just fine. Next we have Season 4 adjacent dance looks, and what a downgrade they are from Season 3. They do appear to be once again embodying different types of dance. I have to wonder if step was still popular by the late noughties. Even as a child, I did not like these. I've never been able to get past Bloom's bra over shirt situation. I also don't really like her hair this way. I'm just a hater for this look. Arguably Flora's worse, though better in the show. Bloom and Stella are most nostalgic as they were most featured on merch, but I'm not attached to any of these looks. I'm going to pick Musa as my fave look though because I am a sucker for single pony Musa, and I like the edgy high collar, so you know I'm not qualified to talk about fashion. I put this in meh, but they're on thin ice. I also quickly want to give a shout out to these sports looks. If I remember correctly, these are from that transitional era between 4 and 5. Can anyone help out? Name of the collection, year, was there any merch with these? I seem to remember them only from the magazines. Especially this Musa look, it's so good. She's playing baseball with high heels, and I'm desperate for her top. Next up, Season 4 date outfits. You may also have seen these in the books. Horrendous. Actually horrendous. Tekna, I don't even recognize you. Flora, what is this? Bloom, sweetie, this is in Season 6. Stella died and went to hell because there's no way she'd be seen alive in this fit. Aisha, it's fine comparatively. Now Musa, this is one of my favorite Musa looks of all time. It captures her journey from tomboy, rough around the edges, to more feminine, mature adult, and I love that progression for her. Not because that's how it should be, but just for the character. Single high pony should be Musa's default. It's so good, it's just correct. Alas, not even Musa can save these girls, sorry. Okay, can we talk about how Season 4 has too many outfits? I know that's what people like about Winx, that there are different looks for different occasions. Admittedly, nostalgia plays a part here. I just like earlier seasons and their looks better, but with Season 4, I think we see the effect of putting merch before show. Because before, yes, we had outfit sets, and they do have thematic cohesion, they go well together, but they are still unique to each character. And in Season 3, that starts to change, and by Season 4, we are very close to the same outfit, different colour philosophy of the Nick era. And that's for merch reasons. They're putting out collections rather than curating an image for each girl. Still some good looks here, but within the show, I feel like it starts to feel juvenile. A group of codependent adults who are still coordinating their outfits like they're 14. Just kidding, I actually would love to have a friend group like that. That being said, the camping look, it's a no from me. I will put these in actually horrendous out of spite, even though they're not that bad. I think I'm just burned out. I just would much rather look at the identical swamp looks from season 1 than these. They feel so trite, I can't explain it. That being said, I would pick Stella as my fave. That might be the comics, honestly. Next, we have Love and Pet, and when I look hard at them, I guess they're not that good, but I love Love and Pet. I love the fairy pets. I was really here for the Winx opening a pet shop and Flora apparently having life-giving abilities. So true, she is mother after all. I often like to speculate on this channel, why do things suddenly appear in Winx merch? And in this case, I do wonder if a contributing factor into Love and Pet was the concurrent success of Littlest Pet Shop. Love and Pet feels very sudden, the lore is weird, so much so it just feels like they wanted to be making cute animal merch. Thoughts? But back to fashions, I think Muse's look transcends the rest into being out of context good, but altogether they are nevertheless very iconically Winx. I'm going to put it in just fine. Finally, Season 4 Winter. Though they were never featured on the show, I think, I'm not going crazy, they were in the magazines and in the comics. The first time they appear is actually in Season 3 of the comics in Magics on Ice as skating practice outfits. I love Flora's look in the comics. In general, I think all of these look great, softened up and textured in this issue. They were also featured in Ski Break, although less dreamy in this one somehow. I think my favourite here would be Flora in the comics with the textured stockings, but in the official art, I like Stella best. I'm really attached to these, so they're going into so good. Can we talk about how Techna was not once my favourite? I mean, she has some very nice outfits, but also in my defense, I feel like she gets predictable, repetitive looks. Like she doesn't have the same range as some of the other girls, which is fine. All that said, this is One Little Fox's merch-biased opinions, and as we all know, foxes aren't especially known for their fashion expertise, so don't take it too seriously. Before I lose you, I want to show you where you can find Winx fashion, stock art, backgrounds, etc. as I did. The information on screen is also in the description with links, and there's even more there if you're interested in the magazines, comics, and also background music, so please see the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to hear your opinions on the outfits, your favourite moments, your favourite pieces of merch with this stuff on. The next video is going to be about Fate the Winx Saga Season 3, aka Dark Destiny, the graphic novel that's coming out later this month. So if you don't really like comics or graphic novels, but you want to know what could have happened had the show gone on, I will summarise and review for you. I already have opinions and the thing isn't even out yet. Anyway, this was a very long video. Let's just end it here so you can go about your beautiful day, and perhaps I will see you next time. Bye!